There's a civil war going on now in Lebanon, a quasi-civil war. You yourself served part of your service up. You fought up there in Lebanon, and here again, Israel, whatever happens to our neighbors is going to spill over most likely into Israel. So why don't you tell us a bit about what's going on and how we can have this emunah that, God forbid, if there's another war, that we're going to be able to get through it.
Exactly, Tamar. Well, first of all, with the signs going in the clouds, and the clouds of war in the horizon, Baruch Hashem, Hashem gave us a thought. We predicted last week before the fighting started out that there was a civil war coming, and it was close to come. And it's not the fact that we're smarter than anybody else, but when you look at the world through eyes of Emuna, you see things clearly. Now we see things are coming down really fast on the way to Mashiach. Over the weekend, on Shabbat, there was fighting all over Lebanon, in the streets of Beirut and in North Lebanon, and more than 36 gunmen were killed. And we have something very, very interesting. In fact, what you have right now, in a de facto basis, Nasrallah and the Hezbollah are controlling Lebanon, and we see the downfall of Gog. Gog is on the way down. In fact, we know, if anybody inside Fuad Signora, he's an American puppet, and we know a few American puppets. Now look at something very interesting, Tamar. American puppets, they're not dedicated. And when they want to get out of a tight spot, you know what they do? They right away capitulate to evil. And we've seen it in other American puppets, the ones close to home without mentioning names. We see it this weekend in with what we call Senora, the Sissy Senora, Fuad Senora. What happened is that the Hezbollah, they made their own telecom system. Now, with the Hezbollah's telecom system, it means that the Hezbollah is able to listen in on any telephone conversation in Lebanon. In other words, that means that if you're a Lebanese government minister, or if you're in the UN in Lebanon, on the what's the so-called peacekeeping force, anywhere in Lebanon, they can hear what's going on. There's no secrets. So the Hezbollah controls everything. They know what's going on in the government, what's going on in the army. And so what happened is, Fuad Signora didn't like that. And so he put this got to be outlawed, and he closed them down. That's the first thing he did. The second thing he did, he discovered, you don't have to be a brain to do this, that the security head of the Beirut International Airport is a Hezbollah operative. So he fired him. Are you with me, Tamar?
I'm listening.
Okay, very good. Okay, anyway, so he discovered he's a Hezbollah operative, so he fired him. So Nasrallah, that was two things that got Nasrallah's gander. Nasrallah whistled, and in one day you had all the Hezbollah in the streets. So what they right away did, they took control of West Beirut, which they have the muscle to do, okay? And not only there, that set off a spark for another group that is related to Hezbollah, but not Hezbollah per se, in the north of Lebanon to start their own uprising. Okay, so what we really see is Nasrallah gives a whistle and Lebanon is on fire. So what Signora did, in order to quiet things down, he capitulated, he completely relinquished, he gave in to Nasrallah, and he said, I'm not going to decide, I'm the prime minister, I'm not going to decide, I'm going to let the army decide. Now, this is the dumbest thing in the world. This type of thing could only happen in Lebanon. The word Levantine comes from Lebanon. In other words, the prime minister decides, I'm not going to decide national policy, let the army do it. So he took the hot potato and threw it to the army. Now, you have the commander-in-chief in Lebanon, Suleiman. Suleiman is, he's a gentleman, Michel Suleiman. He's a French-Lebanese gentleman, a man of leisure. He doesn't want to fight, okay? So he right away said, no, there's no problem with the telecom system. We'll look into it. We'll make a committee. So meanwhile, they've been reinstated. And not only that, he doesn't want to mess around with Nasrallah because Nasrallah is a lot tougher than he is. And Hezbollah in Beirut, especially West Beirut, is a lot tougher than the Lebanese army because the Lebanese army, they would rather drink beer and, go to nightclubs. They don't want to have anything in fighting. So what he did is he reinstated the telecom system. Not only that, but he reinstated the head, Nasrallah's man, in the Beirut airport, Wafik Shakir. and Wafik Shakir is reinstated in his job as security head. So now what you have de facto, you have Nasrallah controls Beirut International Airport. In other words, one command from Nasrallah, and you have no more flights in or out of Beirut. Okay, Nasrallah's control. Nasrallah controls Beirut. He controls the airport. When I said there's a civil war, I want to alter my original prediction. And now I think there will be a takeover. You could have a takeover without firing a shot. The only resistance that Nasrallah is left with is the Druze up in the mountains, in the Shuf Mountains east of Beirut. The Druze, they utterly hate the Shiites, and especially Nasrallah, and they won't give it to them. That's the only pocket of resistance. But really they're stronger. They've turned stronger than the Shiites, and this is with Syrian control and with Iranian control. Now, what does this mean? What does all the mean to us? Why have we gone into such detail about the Lebanese in Beirut? Really, it doesn't matter what the Lebanese do and what the Arabs do, not the Shiites do, what the Sunnis do. It matters what we do, the Jewish people, not only in the land of Israel, but in Los Angeles and London and Miami Beach and Toronto. How so? If we think, Tamar, that business as usual, okay, and we want to be a coffee house society, and we have a little bit of casual spirituality. We'll spin a dreidel on Hanukkah, and we'll eat a matzah on Pesach, but we won't make tshuva, and we won't make aliyah, God forbid, and we won't attempt to come too close to Hashem, God forbid. Then what Hashem is, the Gula has to come, Tamar. Mashiach, Hashem has to build, Hashem has his timetable. He's got to build the Beit HaMikdash. He's got to bring Mashiach. And he can't do that if we're all sleeping, so he has to wake us up. So what happens? Gradually, the entire borders will be surrounded with the most radical Islamic groups you have. And so if you want to argue with me and say, wait a second, Egypt is quiet and Jordan is quiet. Okay, if you do it, so you see what is happening. Mubarak has a lot of resistance in Egypt. The Muslim Brotherhood, the Achim HaMuslimin, they're getting stronger and stronger. They've already done a successful opposition. Mubarak wants to put his son in power. They won't let him. I think you will see more and more with also Syrian help and Iranian help. You have to understand the Syrian intelligence, they are first class. They are top of the line. The CIA in the Middle East and the MI5, they are no match for Syrian intelligence. They've been outclassed. Iranian intelligence, they're tops. They're number one in the Middle East. I'm saying that, not including our people. Okay, but you're talking about the West against Iran and in Syria and anything that's counterinsurgency, intelligence battle, they can't cut it. And you can see America is losing in Iraq. They're losing in Afghanistan. Now they're losing in Lebanon. And what this means is more and more we are finding ourselves surrounded by enemies. The only way, there is no military solution to this. There is no strategic solution to this. It is all spiritual. The only way to solve this problem and to knock out Nasrallah is for us to make tshuva, to get close to Hashem. And what Hashem could do, Hashem can turn, he could move with a light of fire, and there could be an argument all of a sudden between Syria and the Hezbollah, and they start killing each other. We've seen this. Our enemies, all of a sudden, they start, clopping each other over the head. And we've seen this throughout history. The Baal Shem Tov, he once got in Europe and in Ukraine, a whole village to make tshuva, and the Cossacks came to make a pogrom, and when the Balchi, they made tshuva good enough, then the Cossacks, they got drunk and they started fighting. They ended up killing each other instead of killing the Jews.
Well, then we should use his formula and do it so we can save ourselves. That's
the whole point of Emuna News on Arutz Sheva. Okay, so that we should learn these situations, and we have the power to alter the news, to alter history in ourselves.
Rabbi Lazer Brody, www.lazerbrody.net.
Take care. Tomorrow, have a wonderful week, and warmest regards to all our listeners wherever they are.
Thank you very much.
God bless. Bye-bye.